first segment of the news is brought to you by KFC.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Anthea Smith, and this is your JCN Evening News. It's Friday, September 13th, 2013. Thanks so much for tuning in. BC is on a mission to save money and recoup millions of dollars in mismanaged fees. So far, the corporation has been able to save $3 million by taking on new cost-saving measures. But there's still a thorn in the side of the corporation. Millions of dollars the corporation could be making are being stolen through electricity theft. Too many people are stealing power from the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, and the chairman says he is sick of it. On Thursday, Leslie Miller told the media that some unscrupulous Bahamians are now using some savvy techniques to steal the essential supply that so many other Bahamians have to bend over backwards to pay for. But Miller wants to now put them on alert. BEC is strengthening its efforts to crack down on this behavior.
What we have found is that many Bahamians, and some of them were former BEC employees, as well as unscrupulous electricians, they will bypass BEC meter and get the electricity direct from our wiring at the poles. This has become a serious problem. Because of these economic times, people revert to all kind of nonsense to enable them to beat the system. Wherever that is found, and we've found many of it. In fact, I got some on my desk now that we're dealing with, where one fella decided to light up almost about 6 houses in one community.
Miller says anyone found guilty of employing tricks to steal electricity from the corporation, their supplies will be immediately terminated and they may be required to pay some stiff fines. The BEC chairman says they will take no pity on anyone, and those found guilty may be indefinitely banned from connecting to BEC's electricity supply.
What we want to propose, anyone found doing this may have to pay triple the amount. See, when you don't use your meter, BECs can still gauge how much you use because your previous billing. Just go back. It ain't take no genius to do this. We go back for the next 3-4 months or a year and see what you've been averaging, and all of a sudden your light is off and you ain't paying no bill, but you're still using electricity. We had people who be turned off 3 months later to come and sort things out, do the same damn thing again. I know one fella, I saw him in Supermodel. I said, Mr. Miller, man, I had no money, so I just had to do what I had to do. I said, but now you've been off now for about 2 years. What you want me to do? If we restore you again and do the same thing again? I'm just asking them, stop it. You can pay the price.
Mr. Miller says instances of stealing electricity have increased due to tough economic times, but Bahamians aren't the only ones guilty of this. Miller says those in shantytowns are notorious for it. And BEC Deputy Chairman Edward Darville says partaking in this illegal practice could be physically dangerous as well.
Yes, we're just going to be more vigilant in seeing to it that we have a task force to go and go through the land and bread up new providence as well as the family at it and find these areas where that is happening. It would surprise you that other persons too who are in fact doing so. So it's not just the poor among us. I mean, there's anybody who could get away with it.
They sometimes bypass the whole protection. So you know, if you have an overload instead of a fuse blow, it'll just burn the place down.
And the BEC chairman says he means it when he says he's looking to do whatever it takes to restructure the entire organization to ensure that it's run effectively and efficiently. Mr. Miller announced Thursday that before the end of the year, BEC workers will be mandated to contribute to their pension and health plans.
BEC is still burdened with the full cost of our medical plan, with employees not paying one single penny. Our contribution to their pension fund is in excess of $12 million per annum. The staff will be asked and will be mandated to make a contribution before the end of the year in their medical plan as well as their pension plan. No company, I don't care who they are, could expect that the staff of those entities will not contribute to the medical nor the pension plan.
As it stands now, he says BEC workers are the only government employees who don't contribute to these benefits. But Mr. Miller says that's all about to change.
And it's not fair for the rest of the Bahamians who work like hell every day. And most of them have no pension plan, none whatsoever. This corporation is owned by the Bahamian people. We expect that those who work here will be more than happy to make a contribution. And that will be implemented before the end of the year. I know we can catch hell on it with the union. That's just the way it is.
In other news, the Royal Bahamas Police Force tonight confirming reports of a shakeup within their ranks, in which several senior police officers have been transferred and reassigned. Superintendent Clayton Fernando will be transferred from the Southeastern Division to Police Headquarters. Superintendent Ashton Green, who formerly headed the Central Division, will now be in charge of the East Street South Police Station. Superintendent Lamont Delaveau is now at the Central Division, and Superintendent Ken Strawn, who previously ran the Traffic Division, will now be in charge of the Firearms Tracking and Investigation Unit. ASP Craig Stubbs will now head the Traffic Division. An RBPF release also confirming that Superintendent Alan Emanuel has been transferred to the Western Division. Superintendent Mary Mitchell will be responsible for the Carmichael Division, and ASP Ernest Hanna has been transferred to Fire Services. According to the notice, ASP Gregory Johnson will be transferred to the Tourism Policing Unit, while ASP James Moss will be sent to Inagua, and ASP Dennis Brown will be sent to the Berry Islands. Now, our news team tried to reach Commissioner Ellison Greenslade this morning for a comment on these transfers. However, we were told he was busy preparing for a funeral. Well, nearly a year after he was gunned down while attending a Junkanoo practice, Abayomi Sergeant's alleged killer was today arraigned for that murder. It was an emotionally charged session as two mothers sat in tears, one still grappling with the loss of her son and the other struggling to come to terms with her son's pending fate. Corbell Pyfrom has that story.
The family of 23-year-old Abayomi Sergeant Joshua, as he was better known, say he was at home asleep on the evening of Wednesday, October 3, 2012, when he got a call from some friends inviting him out to a Junkanoo practice at Christie Park. Little did they know at the time that that would be the last time they would see him alive. A few hours later, Joshua was gunned down. Shot 3 times, he died on the scene. 11 months later, one of the suspects believed to be behind his murder appeared in court. 29-year-old Bruce Colebrook is charged with Abayomi's killing. Colebrook appeared before Magistrate Gilomena Archer Friday. Ahead of his charge being read, Colebrook's mother expressed concern that she hadn't been informed that her son was being brought to court, and she also advised the magistrate that her son's counsel, attorney Code Smith, was not present because he was attending matters at the Supreme Court. However, Magistrate Archer assured her that this was merely an arraignment and her job was simply to read the charge. Further, she advised that Colebrook's counsel would be able to speak with the court at a later time or date if he had any concerns. As the magistrate read the charge, both Colebrook's and Joshua's mothers, who sat in the same row, only seats apart, cried. Colebrook was not required to enter a plea to the charge. Before being remanded to prison, he told the court that he was in fear for his life at the prison. Magistrate Archer advised him that she had no authority to determine where he would be placed at the prison, but she said she would make a note of his concern to the superintendent of the prison. Colebrook will next appear in court on November 27th when a voluntary bill of indictment will be presented. Corbell Pyfrom, JCN News.
We exclusively reported earlier this week that the Drug Enforcement Unit has had much success taking drugs off the streets in New Providence this year. In fact, according to statistics, police seized some 6,000 pounds of marijuana and 1,500 pounds of cocaine from the streets. But according to DEU head Superintendent Samuel Butler, he still has some concerns. One of them is related to the country's #1 industry, tourism.
There are definitely documented evidence that persons from cruise ship, but so far for this year, I don't think we have any recorded case this year of any major note from the cruise ship. But in the past, we did significant targeting off there, and I believe because of some of our success, it somewhat pushed those persons back as a port of choice.
He also gave a breakdown of just how many people have been arrested and taken before the courts.
We have in excess of 500 persons who have gone before the court, been charged for various offenses under the Dangerous Drug Act, and we've arrested and questioned over 632 persons in connection with offenses.
Superintendent Butler credits the unit's success to police intelligence and public assistance. Well, since Friday, the police have been on a crime-fighting blitz, working 12-hour shifts and employing some other tactics. They have also, in recent weeks, called for people to come in and report disputes as opposed to taking matters into their own hands. But according to a group of people who deal with the police on an almost daily basis, several police officers need a reality check when it comes to their attitudes. Our Sasha Lightbourne has that story.
Candy Gibson is no stranger to the news. She's told her story time and time again. She's had two brothers killed 8 months apart, and now she claims another's being threatened by someone out on bail. Candy, who's the president for advocacy group Families of All Murdered Victims, or FOAM, says she encouraged her brothers to go to the police, but that's when things took a turn for the worse.
Some of them scared to go to CID because they know they had running into the law before. So they wouldn't stand a fair chance to go into any police station, let the person know, yeah, so I hit on their head, they heard rumors that someone wanted to kill them, so they don't go. And that's why then some of them, when they do go, the way the officers treat them, they leave out there and take matters in their own hands. So we come in here today, you want to problem away, guess what? Pray, push, and pull together is going to equal a better Bahamas. In that form, we want to say we want the full cooperation of the Royal Bahama Police Force. Meaning anybody comes to the station right now with their life being in danger, even a family member comes there, we want them to take their threats seriously, take a statement seriously.
And here's her advice to those officers she claims are letting power go to their heads.
You can't have an attitude that's still want the public to help you. You have to soften your heart and somebody to meet the people, because the people hurting, they want to reach out, but what are they reaching out to? So we want them now to understand, I guess, that people willing to work, but they have to tone their attitude down a little.
But FOAM Vice President Tamiko Evidence acknowledged that not all officers use the same approach.
We know the law, we understand the law, you understand me? And I'm not saying that all the officers, and I'm speaking specifically to some of the officers at the Central Detective Unit, not all of them are bad, because I have some police officer friends there too. But the ones that choose to take on this job and men doing their job to investigate cases, bear in mind, there are people out there, civilians, just as educated as you, smarter, or I know who could assist you.
FOAM recently met with both National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage and Police Commissioner Ellison Greenslade, who they say have both been very open to the group's suggestions on how best to curb crime. For JCN News, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
Well, that brings us up to the first break. Coming up next, the disabled in our community get some much-needed help. That story and more when JCN News returns.
The first segment of the news was brought to you by KFC.